guys, welcome back to another week of What's for Dinner. This week I'm sharing some more one pot dinner recipes. So these are recipes where you can basically just throw everything into one pot. Hardly any dishes to clean up, super quick and easy. So if that is something that you're interested in, definitely keep on watching. These are gonna be perfect for the upcoming busy week with Christmas, all the holiday stuff going on. I hope you guys will really enjoy all of these recipes. If you are new here, I would love to have you over on my channel, so don't forget to hit that subscribe button, and let's go ahead and get into all of these dinner ideas. For this first recipe, I'm making a beef goulash. This was definitely one of my favorite goulashes that I've ever made. It was super easy. I'm just starting off with heating up a little bit of olive oil in my Dutch oven, and then I'm adding in my one large onion that I had chopped up. I'm just gonna saute this until all of the onions are translucent in color. Once those have finished cooking, I'm adding in a big scoop of some minced garlic, probably about a tablespoon, and I'm just gonna let that cook up for about 30 seconds until it's nice and fragrant, and then I'm adding in my cooked pound of lean ground beef. Now this sauce is super flavorful. You're gonna start off with adding in 1 can of petite diced tomatoes. You're gonna need 2 cans of the tomato sauce. I used the smaller ones. Go ahead and dump those in there. And then you're gonna be adding in 1 tablespoon of Worcestershire sauce and then about half a tablespoon of some soy sauce. Now I definitely think that these added a lot of flavor into this dish, so definitely don't skip that step. For the seasonings, I'm adding in half a tablespoon of Italian seasoning, about a teaspoon of some oregano. I added in just under a teaspoon of some paprika, which added a ton of flavor. And then you're going to want about a 1/4 teaspoon of some black pepper. I did half a teaspoon of garlic powder, half a teaspoon of onion powder, and then I also did about a 1/4 teaspoon of some salt, or you can just add that to taste. And then you're going to want 1 1/4 cups of some beef broth in there. You're gonna bring this sauce to a boil, and then once it hits that boil, you're going to add in your noodles. These are just elbow macaroni noodles. Go ahead and add in a cup of those as well as a can of sliced mushrooms, and then you're gonna cook this for about 15 minutes. The recipe said to do it a little bit longer, but mine only took about 15 minutes. Once it has completely cooked through, you're gonna add in about half a cup of your favorite cheese. I just chose to add the cheddar. Stir that in there and let it melt, and that's really it for this one pot dish. I have to say this is definitely one of the best goulashes that I've ever had, and it was super simple to throw together, really easy to clean up. I absolutely loved this one. Next up, I'm making a healthier version of a chicken fried rice. This is such a great meal to make that's very budget friendly. You can also freeze this one, but I'm just starting off with a little bit of olive oil in my skillet, and then I'm adding in 1 chicken breast that I had sliced up. I definitely cut this into some pretty small pieces, and then I'm adding in just a splash of some soy sauce. It really flavors the chicken, and then I'm just gonna stir fry this up until it is completely cooked through. After my chicken has completely cooked through, I am just moving it over to a plate, and then I'm going to be using this skillet for the rest of the dish to make it a good one pot meal for some really easy cleanup. Now into that same skillet, I'm just adding in another drizzle of olive oil, and then I'm adding in about half of a white onion that I had chopped up, along with about 1 large carrot that's all diced up and ready to go. Now I'm just gonna cook these up until the onions are nice and translucent in color, and the carrots are starting to soften a little bit, and then I'm gonna be adding in my frozen veggies. So honestly, you guys, I usually will just use a big bag of frozen mixed veggies for this. Here on this day, I just had kind of some random ones that I needed to use up in my freezer. So I'm dumping in probably another cup of frozen vegetables, and I'm just gonna cook all of this together until everything is really nice and soft. Once my vegetables are just about cooked through, I'm adding in about a tablespoon of some minced garlic, letting that cook up for another minute or so, and then I'm actually just going to be adding that chicken right back in there, kind of letting it get heated back up. Give that a couple minutes to heat back up, and then we're going to be adding in the eggs. So the eggs here, you're actually going to like scoop out the middle so you have a big area to work with. I'm adding in about half a cup of some eggs, so probably like the equivalent of 3 to 4 eggs here. Make sure that they are are whisked together before adding them into your pan. And then you can see I'm just kind of stir frying them in the middle of the pan, and I'll eventually work my way out and incorporate all of the other veggies as well. You can definitely tweak the measurements in this recipe. So for example, I usually will just use 1 chicken breast, and then I will use a little bit more egg for some extra protein. It's a little bit cheaper that way, but you can definitely do it however you prefer. Now that I have all of the eggs cooked together, I'm adding in about 2 cups of cooked brown rice. Now this is perfect to use day-old leftover brown rice, or you can also use the kind from the store. Just go ahead and cook it up in the microwave or whatever the package calls for. And then I'm just seasoning this to taste with some soy sauce. I'm also going to be adding in a little bit of salt and pepper, but this is super basic as far as seasonings. All I'm doing is adding in a little bit of soy sauce, salt and pepper, and you are good to go. Just do all of this to taste. I love to make this meal actually for lunches, and then I will freeze the leftovers a lot of times. I pull this out for a really quick and easy dinner. Whenever I go to thaw this out, I will just heat up a little bit of olive oil, add in a drizzle of extra soy sauce, and this is such a yummy dinner idea. Now for this next dinner, I'm making a sausage and potato soup. I'm just starting off with my Dutch oven. Of course, I'm adding in a little drizzle of olive oil, letting that heat up, and then I'm adding in about a pound of some sausage. I just sliced this up into some smaller bite-sized pieces, and I'm gonna cook this up for about 5 minutes. Once it has fully cooked through, I'm moving that over to a plate, and then I'm gonna be using this Dutch oven to cook all of my veggies for the soup in. Now into my same Dutch oven, I'm adding in a little drizzle of olive oil along with about 2 stalks of celery that I had sliced up. I'm adding in half of a white onion all chopped up and ready to go, along with 2 large carrots that are all diced up. And I'm just gonna saute these up for about 5 minutes or so. I do want my veggies to start to get really nice and soft, especially the carrots because those are super firm. And then once those are starting to soften, I'm adding in a big scoop of minced garlic, and I'm gonna let that cook up for another minute or so. Once my veggies have softened, I'm adding in 4 cups of chicken broth ready to go, and then I'm also adding in about 1.5 pounds of potatoes that are peeled, and then I cut them up into some small bite-sized pieces. I'm gonna bring this to a boil, and then once it actually starts boiling, I'm going to pop on the lid, turn it down to a lower temperature, and then I'm gonna cook this for about 15 minutes. Once my potatoes are fork tender and fully cooked through, I'm gonna add some salt and pepper. I just added this to taste, or you can follow the measurements. I will have this whole recipe linked down below. And then I'm adding in probably about a 1/4 cup of some shredded Parmesan cheese, and then probably another cup of some Colby and Monterey Jack cheese, as well as about 1 cup of milk. Go ahead and get all of that added in there, and then you're also going to pop in your sausage that you had cooked up earlier. Stir all of this together. You're going to want to make sure that your heat is very low at this point. You don't want to burn the cheese, but you just want to get all of that melted in and incorporated. This soup actually turned out really good. I wasn't sure how it was going to be, but it was really cheesy, very creamy. My husband isn't even normally a big fan of soup, and he actually really enjoyed this recipe. So if you like potato soup, this is definitely a good one to try out. Alright guys, that is going to wrap up this week of What's for Dinner. I really hope that you enjoyed it. If you did, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. Hit that subscribe button if you have not already. And I will catch you all in my next video. Thanks so much for watching. Bye.
As a young girl, the fields were mine. We played hide and seek for hours, raised our shadows among the pines. So offshore, playful and free, without a care.